Thank you so much for coming. I hope you're thoroughly enjoying your food. If you can keep it on the down low, that just will make my life better. Your food today was part of the roadmap grant. Maybe you're familiar with that on campus. We've been redesigning orientation and that type of thing, and this is part of the sub-award that roadmap does. What they believe in roadmap is that when we connect best practices across like colleges and institutions, we can learn from each other. And so this is an approved event from them, and it's not money they sent here, but it's money that they hold in DC. So they actually called in and paid it with a credit card, which is that's how they operate on this type of event. So they also were able to sponsor our webinar host today, and I want to introduce them. They're going to talk for about 20 minutes, and then we're going to open it up for questions, and you might have to come up here or I'll have to repeat your question. I prefer you to ask it yourself so it has your inflection in it, but we can do that after that. And then we're going to, for a few minutes, as we wrap up, look at our own portfolio evidence and how we want to move forward and kind of bring things together so that I can have all your awesome thoughts, because you're going to make it happen, not me. So what I want to do first is introduce Dr. David Hubert and Dr. Suzanne Mosby. And did I say it right, Suzanne? They're here. They're frozen. My computer. I think it's my computer. Suzanne, did I say your name right?
It's Mosby.
Mosby. I like all night last night. I thought, why don't I know how to say her name? I've met her like 5 times, but I call her Suzanne from Salt Lake. So that didn't help me at all.
But, that's okay. You can call me Suzanne from Salt Lake. I'm good with that.
Suzanne from Salt Lake. Well, Dr. Hubert, he is the Director of General Education and ePortfolio at Salt Lake Community College. And Suzanne is the Department Chair of Mathematics. And so we're excited to have some of our mathematicians here today. And I hope that she's able to show you some great things. So I'm going to turn it over to them and let them just kind of share with you what about signature assignments and ePortfolio work, and then we'll get back together. Okay, guys, just take it.
Hi, this is David Hubert. It's nice to meet you, sort of. It's a little disconcerting because we can see ourselves on our screen, but we can't see who we're talking to. But I hope you're enjoying your lunch, and we'll have a nice conversation as we go along. I just want to say that, you know, I reviewed the We Succeed Work Ethic First initiative that you're doing as part of your roadmap project, and I really want to applaud what you're doing, and I want to, you know, congratulate Amanda and all the folks that have been working on it. I think it's, you know, it's exactly the kind of thing that AAC&U is trying to fund and stimulate around the country, is for institutions to identify issues that they need to work on, and in your case, you've identified, you know, student work ethic, and then come up with a roadmap to help students, you know, make progress in that area. So I think you're doing a great job. I also think that ePortfolios are an excellent kind of venue for helping students think about their work ethic and the dimensions of that work ethic, whether it be, you know, professionalism or whatnot. Really what you're trying to do is what, you know, the literature suggests, is that you're trying to create reflective practitioners out of your students, regardless of what major, what career they're going into. You want to graduate students that can reflectively think about what they're doing and not have to depend on a faculty member, right, who's not going to be there later in life to tell them they're on track or not. And so, you know, tying signature assignments and reflective practices to this idea of work ethic is I think, a really smart move on your part. When I was looking at the evidence that you have so far on the work ethic first, a couple of things came to mind. One is that you all probably need to have a conversation. It's probably already started, but it's going to have to continue, as to what sort of scaffolding you want to do with your signature assignments with respect to the elements of the work ethic that you've identified. So how specific do you want students to be in addressing the work ethic aspect of the signature assignment, because obviously the signature assignments that you're using have importance for the discipline that they happen to be in, whether that's, dental assisting or whether that's a history course. You're addressing the substance of the course, but on top of that, you're layering on this idea of work ethic. So you have to figure out amongst yourselves in your departments how you want to go about that. And then the next thing that came to my mind when I was thinking about your work is the kinds of reflection prompts that you want to use with students. Writing reflection prompts is kind of an art rather than a science, and you never know what's going to work and what doesn't. So you just have to keep, doing a trial and error method until you get on some reflection prompts that really work for you and for your students to help them address and to think about how they're doing on those dimensions of work ethic. And then finally, you might want to have some rubrics for assessing student reflection. Whether or not you grade student reflection, it's always a good idea to have a rubric to show students the kinds of things that you're looking for in effective reflection. So I'm assuming you can see my desktop, and we have, for instance, an RE portfolio initiative, a faculty resource site and a student resource site. And on those, on both of those, we have students looking at reflection, what reflection is, and then we have a handout for students about reflection from the student point of view, and then of course the other one is from the faculty point of view, about what reflection is and is not. Many students think that reflection is just sort of emoting on the page rather than really deeply thinking about their learning. And then we give them sample reflection prompts that they might encounter in their various classes. And we do a similar kind of thing with the faculty site on reflection, where we have a reflection handout for students in which we get them to think about reflection as a form of metacognition, which is widely recognized as a very important practice to step back periodically in each course and think about your own thinking, think about your own learning processes. And then we give suggestions for reflection. And then we have rubrics that we encourage faculty to use to help students sort of self-evaluate on their reflection. So if we go to our rubrics page, we have a PDF of our reflective writing rubric, the kinds of language that they're using in reflection, context and reference. So whether they're referring back to the work that they've done in the course in specific ways to demonstrate their thinking, to demonstrate the processes that they went through in creating that work. And then the thing that's really tough for students, which is depth of reflection. Students want to be very superficial unless you really prompt them to go deep. But you want them to be asking questions of themselves, making connections between this assignment in this course and assignments they've done in other courses, because they have the common thread in your situation of that professionalism, that work ethic idea. So they can think about work ethic as it's applied in different disciplines, which I think gives you all a great advantage. And you want them questioning, comparing, interpreting, and analyzing. So those are my comments. I think what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn it over to Suzanne to talk a little bit. Every department at our college goes through a process of designing signature assignments and reflection prompts for faculty to use. And the math department, and one of the unique things about our math department is that many folks around the country don't think of math as really belonging in a portfolio, and Suzanne has really kind of blazed a path in that direction. and shown that math, in fact, is eminently suitable for being included in a reflective portfolio of student work.
I don't use a Mac.
I'll do this.
Okay.
Tell me where to go.
Hello. So what we're looking at right now is our instructor resource site for all of our instructors, but mostly our adjunct instructors. And so what we have in our classes, we require for all classes at the college level, we require at least one project. And interestingly enough, one of my staff just returned from the Mathematical Association of America conference, national conference last week, and I guess that's the word on the street, is projects, projects, projects. And mostly, I think it's great because we're answering the question that if you teach math, you hear all the time, when am I ever going to use this? So what we've done is we analyzed, based on our final exam, where the students are struggling, and we build projects around those conceptual areas, and then also look at our student learning outcomes and what are the big student learning outcomes, and devise projects around those ideas, and we put them into our courses. So let's hop down to, so these are all of our courses, and this is public, so you're welcome to go on to this if there are any math teachers out there. So let's go into fall 2014, that's good. So this is just our standard information, but it's, David scrolls down, we have handouts, worksheets, and projects. So if we go to, this is our signature assignment for our trigonometry class. So what the students do is they go through and they are working with concepts of trigonometry that they up until now have just been working on specific, short problems. But now what they have to do, this project actually takes two trigonometric, it takes the spring and it models the motion of the spring. And what we do is at the end of this, we're showing how the same equation can be achieved two ways, and then we ask them to show how they can do this through a trigonometric identity. So we're modeling the motion of the spring, and so that they have to model this motion, and then it takes them through some steps where they break it apart and put it together, and then use an identity to bring the two together. And then, so they work through this project, and then if you scroll down to the bottom, David, they also have so this is our reflection. And what I've done in my class when I teach this class is I actually pull this out of the signature assignment and make this a separate assignment. So the reflection is on its own the specific, it's a different assignment. And throughout the course, I've asked them during discussions, they post on our learning management system, Canvas. I'll ask them halfway through the semester, I'll say, okay, based on your discipline, where is your discipline? If you're an electrical engineer, if you're going to be an electrical engineer, if you're going to be a physicist, if you're going to be a chemist, where do you use trigonometry? And some disciplines are a little harder, but they're getting the idea of talking about the relationship between mathematics and the real world. And now this project asks specifically where, it asks how did this change the way you thought about trigonometry? How can it be applied to the real world? So we're asking for really specific cases. And we say that in our rubric is we need specific cases. If you just say trigonometry works really well, I see it all the time in the world, that doesn't get a very good score on our rubric. But we ask them to give specific examples of where they see this mass spring motion in the real world. And we get lots of different responses. I get lots of different responses. So this is one way that we've used our reflective writing and our signature assignment, which is what we call our assignments in our e-portfolio, as David said. And this is one instance. And then I just wanted to hop over to our calculus page really quickly, because what I like about, and I don't know if they've changed this one. The last time I taught this, so the pipeline project, last time I taught this was in spring 2014, so a little while ago. But what this is it's maximizing and minimizing. So we're looking at our BLM land in Utah, and we're actually going to try to figure out how we can run a pipeline that is the cheapest and the cheapest way to maximize, the cheapest way. So they have to use the ideas of maximizing distance, minimizing distance, and maximizing maximizing what their return on investment would be. So this is the project here, and so they actually have to, if you scroll down. So so we walk them through it because this is, it's a first semester calculus class. And again, up until now, what they've done is they've just done problems out of the book, maybe a little more extensions in class, but now they're on their own. And so we walk them through the cases, and we're saying that these are the cases, and these are the two cases that are really going to be the most effective. Which one? So the critical thinking, which one is optimal? And we've given them, private ground. It costs more because they have to pay the private people versus going around the BML land. But the goal is to get from, unfortunately, the oil well to the processing plant. But that's just showing you a little bit of my ideas of drilling. So then here we also talk about the reflection. So we want to know how this idea is applied in the real world. Again, we're always bringing back our reflection to that real world. Can you make the argument of calculus being a useful tool is one of the ones that I think as a mathematician, I think to myself, oh my gosh, that's the easiest question to answer in the, out of all of the math that trigonometry is pretty easy to answer too, but to me, this is like a no-brainer, and my students really, it really helps them come to terms about, the things that they're learning in their math class are actually really real-world examples to show how calculus is used. And again, even this one shows in the business world because a lot of times in our calculus classes we use very STEM-related examples to show maximum and minimum, but this one actually has a cost related to it. So it can be used both in our STEM track math calculus class and also our non-STEM calculus class, which is nice. And then at the end of the class, and that's not shown here, we ask them to go and look at their entire e-portfolio. So they have to post this on their e-portfolio. And I think David might show you a couple examples of student e-portfolios. But they have to post this. And what I ask is there's always extra credit. They always ask, what's the extra credit? And I don't like to give extra credit. But when I am pushed to do it, what I tell them to do is reflect on their e-portfolio and show where they've used quantitative literacy throughout the other classes of their assignments. And, I don't get very many people taking me up on that, which is probably something I need to maybe make into a real assignment because it's a hard extra credit assignment. But you can probably, all of the math teachers out there, I hear all the time, this is the last class I need to graduate. You may not hear that, but we hear it all the time. And so I know that they have a plethora of signature assignments in their e-portfolios that if they would, I ask them to reflect back over them and write where they've used some actual quantitative reasoning in those classes. So I think I'm probably going to hand it back over to David so he can talk about the student portfolios and what more he wants to do.
Yeah, I think I'll wrap up by showing a few student e-portfolios. So we allow students to use Web 2.0 platforms to create their portfolios, but they do need to follow this basic outline: a welcome page, a page in which they set their goals, and then talk about SLCC's learning outcomes. And then the heart of the portfolio is the coursework page, where they list their courses by semester. And link each course by semester with its reflection and its signature assignment, which in some cases would be a file such as this, or in other cases would be a paper. So here's her reflection on gender roles in her culture and human experience class, and then she wrote a paper about gender roles in Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart novel, which she gives a teaser for here, and then you click on this and you can see her entire paper about that novel. And so another example might be Eli's e-portfolio. Again, notice this is made on a different platform, but it's the same general outline so faculty know how to navigate it. He introduces himself, and then when you see on his coursework page, he's got his courses organized by semester, his principles of public speaking, which they had to put a video up of themselves speaking and then reflect on it, and he just does a remarkable job of thinking about, what goes into an effective presentation. And this is, from a student who's 18, 19 years old, and I wish I would have had, the presence of mind to know what the strengths and weaknesses are of my speaking. And so he has this statement here: after giving 9 speeches in class, I've learned that how well I have prepared and the state of mind I'm in when I give a speech completely dictate my delivery, which is a good thing for a young student to understand. So I'll cut back through these. But again, as Suzanne mentioned, all of our information is public. So if you go to eportresource.weebly.com and then click on the Examples tab, we have permission from these students to share their e-portfolios, and you're welcome to go in and look at them. We share these examples with students. An example is worth 1,000 words, as they say, especially when it comes to e-portfolios, because many students who are just coming into the institution that don't know about e-portfolios don't really understand what we're going for. And this is what we're going for. We're going for students who can really document their learning and reflect on what they've learned. So I think we'll end it there and open it up for questions.
Yeah, that's super. And Suzanne, I don't know, can you hear me? You're good,
yes,
okay, yeah. Good. I know the last time I spoke to you, you were working on some developmental math examples, and have those gone well? I remember something about a recipe and like doubling recipes, and there was some really imaginative work, and I just know if you give me a thumbs up or down on how that went.
Oh, right. So we have actually incorporated projects into each one of our Emporium classes, which is our developmental math sequence, and they are going very well. The students, they struggle more than the higher level students, of course, but we actually have paired that class with our learning EDU 20. That's our learning.
Yeah, our Essentials of College Study.
Yeah, so we paired it with our Essentials of College Study class, and so that the projects are going well. The students are engaging with them. We haven't really had data to show whether or not they're making a difference yet, because we're still, in the initial phases. But they are starting, even though they're not required to put that into their e-portfolio, because it's not a general education. Our developmental math aren't general education courses. They are putting them into their e-portfolio because they're tied to this Learning Essentials class. So we are getting, we're getting some really good work from those students. But again, it is slow going. We have it now, and so the Emporium is broken into 12 modules, and we have a project for each one of we have one project for every 2 modules up to module 8. So this semester we're working on Module 9 through 12.
Yeah, I think we have the Emporium model as well, so I think we can see that. So are those public as well?
I think so. They should be if they're not. If they're not, I'll make sure that they are. We just migrated to a new site. The Weebly site you saw with our examples is new. So whether or not it's been migrated or not is,
okay.
I don't know. But it will be. If it's not up there currently, it will be up there.
Okay, that'd be super. Okay, does anyone have a question they would like to ask? I know for a lot of these people, the signature assignment is a really new concept, and so it may be just like a whoa moment. Some of them are doing signature assignments without realizing it. So we're going to have that conversation in a minute. So there may not be a whole lot of questions. There might be a super overwhelm, but that's super. I think it's been great. So, okay, Anita? Okay. Okay, and Anita from Math would like to know, like typically what percentage of the grades are you finding useful for the signature assignments and the reflections, like the part of the reflections?
What is that? What percent of what?
Final grade.
The final grade. So we do about 10% of the final grade is for the signature, the actual work of the signature assignment, the posting of the signature assignment to the e-portfolio, and the posting of the reflections to the e-portfolio. So that looks at whether the work is right or wrong, and then posting. And that's we put between I think it's 7 to 10%. We don't like to be prescriptive in exactly how much percentage every teacher has to do, but no less than 7 and no more than 10. So it actually can hurt the student grade-wise by almost a full grade if they don't do any of this.
Gotcha. Okay, that's very helpful. Any others? Okay, Bill. Okay, so Bill from writing, and he is, I think you read Bill Stifler's work, and I think we went dead again. Okay, so Bill from writing, and David, you read some of Bill Stifler's student work. He wants to know how successful your college has been with student buy-in for portfolio, and if there has been problems with buy-in, how you've overcome that.
Well, we're 4.5 years into our implementation, and I will say that the first year we had quite a bit of either opposition or confusion from students because they weren't quite sure what this new requirement was all about. Many of them thought it was a graduation requirement, which in our case it's not. As Suzanne kind of alluded to, it's a course level requirement for each general education courses. So if a student decided not to do the e-portfolio, they would take a grade hit in each course, but they could conceivably pass the course without doing the e-portfolio. Unfortunately, a number of faculty were telling students that it was a graduation requirement. But that's an issue with an institution as large as we are. We have 370 full-time faculty and 1,000 adjuncts every year. So it was difficult to make sure that we had a consistent message going out to all students. So that was in the initial year. Now what we're seeing is much more of a culture shift. So for instance, we're going to be starting fall classes next week, and I'm totally not prepared, but that's a whole other story.
Neither are we.
But I can go into my online class roles and I can see student portfolios, and 2/3 of my course enrollments already have e-portfolios in the system. The other third are probably first semester students that are just coming in from high school, and I will send them out an email saying, we have an e-portfolio requirement, and you should get started setting up the basic bare bones of your e-portfolio. And I get, trust me, any complaint there is about e-portfolio eventually ends up on my desk, and I'm just getting fewer and fewer of those now. from students. Students understand that, you know, this is the culture, this is what we do at SLCC. So student buy-in is much better. One of the issues that we do have with student buy-in is, frankly, from the few faculty who are still dead set against ePortfolio or will not participate. And so you will get a student saying, well, why do I have to do an ePortfolio in this class when I just took a gen ed class and that instructor didn't care that I did the ePortfolio. So that kind of mixed message hurts us, but you know, we're doing our best to offer training to faculty and to show them the utility of ePortfolio both as a learning experience for students and as an assessment practice for the institution. I just sent Amanda our latest assessment report that's hot off the presses.
Yay!
And she might distribute that to you, but
Thank
we're
you.
gaining a wealth of information about our gen ed program and how students are actually experiencing it. And that is really helping faculty convey the information to students that this is important for the institution. So, you know, to summarize, since we did such a big ePortfolio implementation all at once across the board in all of our gen ed, we did have some student buy-in issues in the first year, and those have been diminishing every year since. But it is a long process.
Yes. And I know, Caitlin, David needs to go right after this one. No, you're okay. Okay, can we answer it in just a second? Okay, I think I can handle it. David has a meeting. He needs to go to one of his observing meetings again, just like us. And I want to.
I've got about 10 more minutes.
Oh, you've got 10 minutes. Super. Caitlin, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Right, and I can talk, I think, in a few minutes about David's model for how they implemented was almost opposite of ours, except that they went campus-wide and not in one isolated corner, which a lot of schools do, which I've really enjoyed talking to him about that because that was a huge challenge. A lot of schools start it in one small area and then wait for it to grow gradually, where we just had to go full throttle for the TEP. David did something similar, but their school is quite a bit bigger, so if they went with a product like Digication, the price is exorbitant because of their FTE. So they have several free sites that they use, platforms, that WordPress and things like that. They spend a lot more time on the training for how to build a website than we have to do because of the template. So he's somewhat jealous of our template, and I'm somewhat jealous that he's like 2 years down the pike and he's got a lot of really cool things going on. So theirs is accessible to the students because it's free. It's not bound to the school, I don't believe. So we do have that as well. Okay. So Bill's asking again, how much class time do you use typically to help students with the technology of ePortfolio, and what other resources to that website does your campus have? And I think I know some of that, but I'll let you explain it. I think it'll come better from you.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's actually a common question, and we get quite a bit. So obviously the instructor is going to want to spend some class time on what the signature assignment is and what reflection they expect. That's pretty typical. But we're very clear with faculty to not spend any class time with the technical aspects of setting up the ePortfolio. We did not want this new requirement to be a burden on faculty class time. So we do have a fairly robust support system for students, and we just tell faculty to send students to those support systems. We also have a standard ePortfolio syllabus statement that we put in all gen ed course syllabi, which has links and information to direct students to those outside supports. And those outside supports are as follows. We have online tutorials for how to set up your portfolio in each of the platforms that we support. And about half of our students are tech savvy enough to just follow the online tutorial, which are screenshots of how to do it in WordPress or one of the other platforms. So about half our students are tech savvy; they can just do it that way and don't need any additional assistance. For the rest, we have two main supports. One are two open ePortfolio labs. They're drop-in. You don't need an appointment. You just come in when the lab is open, and we have trained student mentors who help students get started with their ePortfolios, or if there are advanced questions like how to make a slideshow in your portfolio or something like that, you just drop in and they'll help you with that. And then working with the library, we trained all the staff at the library who normally do information literacy kinds of courses, so how to do research for your term paper and those kinds of things. We trained those staff to do ePortfolio workshops, setup workshops. And so those are free. They last an hour, and you sign up online, and you just go to the lab at the designated time, and you sit at a computer, and someone will step you through setting up your portfolio in that hour. So we really don't want faculty to have to devote any class time to this technical support. We have these three main outside supports. And we also have an ePortfolio helpline kind of email where students can say, please help me, I've tried the lab, or I tried the workshop and it didn't quite take. And Katie's our ePortfolio coordinator, will make an appointment with them and really hold their hand through the process. So it's working pretty well. But I would recommend that, whatever you do have to have appropriate support mechanisms to help students set up their ePortfolios. Because we've found that, while this is the digital native generation, this is not ripping off a song from the internet or posting a picture of a pet squirrel, body surfing at the ocean. This is actual work, and they're not used to that kind of use of technology yet.
Absolutely. And we'll talk. We have some of those things in place that some of these faculty may not be aware of, so we'll talk about those. But I want to thank you so much for being a part of us today. I'm going to let them clap. No, I'm so sorry you couldn't see us. We had a really great attendance from a lot of disciplines and a wonderful lunch from Tzatziki's, so one of our Greek area restaurants that we love. So thank you so much, and we'll be in contact with you if anyone needs like some direct links or information. I'll reach out and ask you if that's okay.
Well, you're welcome, and thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, thanks.